Well, good evening, everybody. It's Al with Longoriahaus Dog Training with another question and answer show. And yes, I've got a ton of stuff to talk about tonight. If you have no idea who I am, like I said, my name's Al. I'm a dog trainer in the Houston area. My dog training company does a whole bunch of different things. We train puppies, we train dogs that might have behavior problems. We train with dogs that want to do sport. What I mean by that is they might be doing some kind of competitive obedience, or maybe they're involved in the sport of Schutzhund and IPO. But we do a lot of different things. But why are you seeing me right now? Well, the reason you're seeing me is one of the things that I like to do is I love to be able to help people. And we like to help people just like you to raise happy and reliable dogs. So if this is your first time watching, hey, thanks for coming out here and watching. But the format is pretty relaxed. If you have a dog training question, just ask that question. If you're watching this after the live recording, because we do post these after the fact, hey, drop your question down below and I'll make sure that we answer it on next week's question and answer. I've got a lot of different topics to go over tonight, but at any point, if you're watching this, you're more than welcome to jump in. But for those of y'all that are watching it right now, hey, go down there to that share button and please share my video. It would mean so much to me. If anything, that's how our small businesses are really surviving, by using things like Facebook Live and YouTube Live and all of our Facebook posts. When you share our content, it really helps kind of spread the word about what we're doing. So, hey, thanks for watching again tonight, and I'm going to get started with the first topic. Let me just make sure that everything is streaming right. And if you would do me a favor, if you're watching this right now and you think the audio is good, go ahead and hit that heart button to let me know that you think that the audio is working out well. So just going to make sure I see it on my end. And supposedly I'm supposed to have super fast internet. Yep, there it is. We've got it going, so it's on there. I'm going to have that as the second screen. And now we're going to get started. So the very first topic that I wanted to cover tonight is when you shouldn't walk your dog. So I recently ran into an issue where somebody was walking their dog, and really they were having a very, very difficult time with their dog. Their dog was lunging and was barking at all the other dogs, wouldn't listen to any voice commands, wouldn't sit. No matter what this individual did, their dogs were getting out of control. And so, we started a training process with this individual to help them with their dog. So then what happens is that we actually started training the dog. The dog started to learn some new things, but then the owner actually started to learn, how to communicate better. And anytime that you're starting a training program, you should definitely be starting it when, you should be starting this new skill in an environment that doesn't have your nemesis, doesn't have all those distractions that normally make your dog turn into something else. So, we went through the training session and began to teach this individual and their dog how to begin to relate a little bit better to each other. And the process, sometimes it's a little slow in the beginning as we learn how to, crawl before we walk. So what ended up happening is that this person was so used to their very normal routine of going out and walking with their dog that they went on the walk, and the walk went terrible. And so then they're like, man, what in the world am I supposed to do, for my dog? And really what I'll tell you is you shouldn't really be walking your dog when you don't necessarily know how to create the picture of what it is that you want your dog to do. There's really two main components that come to any kind of behavior, at least the way that I train them, and it works pretty effectively. One is specifically, what is it that you actually want your dog to do? But then two, what's the boundary? How far can your dog go before you're actually going to tell them, no, I didn't want you to do that? So when you're thinking about it, if you're thinking about going for a walk with your dog and your dog is really, behaving very, very badly, then it just becomes really important to not go on those walks until you have the knowledge about how to do it. Now, if you do understand how to go and walk your dog, the very first thing that you should do is actually not go for a big long walk with your dog, but maybe go out right in front of your home, right into your neighborhood, stay very close to your house, and begin to show the dog how important it is to stay with you. And telling the dog that it's important to stay with you is a twofold thing. Showing the dog that, hey, it's great to be on my left-hand side. You can even tell the dog to be on your right-hand side too, but showing the dog how great it is to be there. And then also just very plainly and simply telling your dog that you are not allowed to be at the end of the leash. And I think as you begin to have that conversation and that dialogue with the dog, for them to understand that I don't want you at the end of the leash and I want you to be by your side, as you begin to get the repetitions of showing those two things, that then your dog is going to really understand what it means to be able to walk with you. Now, one thing that I was talking to a young man today, it was a client's son, that I really thought was interesting. I asked him the question, what do you think is the thing that actually changes the dog's behavior? And the young man actually said, well, it's their physiology. And he's not wrong. But I'll back it up a little bit. It's really the dog's emotions that change the dog's behavior. But in response to what he said, the dog's physiology is really going to determine what they find comfortable, what they find uncomfortable, what they find pleasurable, and what they find frustrating. And knowing your dog and knowing like those four things, knowing what produces comfort, pleasure, frustration, and discomfort is really going to go a long way to helping you understand how to show your dog that their different choices lead to different emotions. There's a lot of talk about like different training tools like remote collars and pinch collars and harnesses and clickers and treats. But at the end of the day, really what it boils down to is, do you really know your dog? Do you know what triggers their emotions, the good ones and the bad ones? And do you know how to put those in a way that the dog can understand the differences of their decisions and use that? So just going back to the original thing that I said about when you shouldn't walk your dog, you definitely shouldn't go for walks with your dog when their behaviors are out of control, when you're having to avoid every last thing. You should really begin to research and look for ways to communicate to your dog what it is you want. And if that's you and you're watching this right now, I would love to help you and show you how to do that. One of the things that I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to jump over here on my iPad. And if that's you, that you're the person that's been struggling with your walks, I have so many free resources that we're putting out there right now that's actually going to help you to be able to walk your dog well. I'm not going to find the individual video at the moment because I do want to be a little quick because I want to move on to the next question that I have. But I'm running over to my website right now, and there's a page on there that's called Free Dog Training. And what I'm going to do real quick is I'm actually going to put that URL up there for you guys, because I want you to have this particular page, because it's just going to be filled with resources. It's going to be filled with resources that are going to make it easy for you to be able to work with your dog. So whatever your problem is, if it's aggression, if it's your dog counter surfing, if it's your dog jumping on you, whatever the types of issues that you're wanting to do, or if you're wanting to learn how to teach your dog tricks, we sure would love to be able to help you to teach your dog how to do those things, but really more importantly, how to teach us. I find as a dog trainer that the vast majority of my training when I'm working with a family is not really the dog, but it's showing the adults and the kids too. Like, what do you do when your dog does that? And giving them a system that then when I leave, they're able to implement that and affect real life change for their dog. All right. So I have another question here. And hey, for those of you guys that are watching, if you're my friend, hey, say hello. Love to know that you're here. Okay. Hey, Mandy, I see you're here. Mom, I love you. I'm glad that you're here too. But hey, let us know that you're here. And if you haven't already, hey, it means so much to me when you go down there to the corner and hit that share button. Maybe send it to a message to somebody that maybe has a dog that could really use some help. But oh, hey, Charles, good to see you, man. But hey, we so appreciate each and every one of you guys that comes to watch this show. It means a lot to me. It's a big encouragement. But hey, if you're one of these guys, one of these folks that's just watching this for the first time, hey, thanks so much for you coming. If you have a dog training question, or if there's something that you're struggling with your dog, hey, drop a comment down below. I'd love to be able to help you out. Love to be able to help you out with some relevant material. So I wanted to talk next about, why do dogs fight? There's a lot of reasons why dogs fight. And I'm going to give you a few, but then I want to say one thing about dog fighting, okay? But why do dogs fight? Well, dogs fight a lot of the same reasons why humans fight. So one, dogs are going to fight over resources. A dog can fight over a human. A dog could fight over their food. They could fight over their favorite toy. They could fight over that, hey, that you're petting one dog and they get mad about that. Dogs fight about a lot of things. Hey, dogs fight because other creatures invade what they believe is theirs. Like if somebody came crashing into your home, you'd probably fight them. But dogs, they get territorial, and they have a lot of the same different things, why they choose to fight. Why do they fight each other? Well, the main reason that they fight each other is because, well, we allow them to. We put them into situations. We show them that they don't necessarily have to respect us, and that they're allowed to correct another dog. And then when the other dog, the one that got corrected by the one that instigated it, gets tired with it, they decide to have an argument. And their arguments generally aren't just growls and words, but their teeth and blood and a lot of those things. And really what I want to tell you is that it doesn't really matter why dogs are fighting. The main thing is that why are you, allowing it to continue to happen? It's just one of those things that's tough. But I don't want to sit here and judge you if you're having your dogs fighting. I know it's a really ugly thing, and sometimes it can be really hard to see the pathway to getting your dogs to stop fighting each other. But let me just give you one very, very practical thing that will eliminate a whole bunch of fighting. And that very, very practical thing is a leash. Your dog's leash. It's the one thing that you can use that's a surefire way to, one, prevent a fight, and also to break up a fight. So if your dogs are already getting into fights, you can probably anticipate the situations and the circumstances that are leading to those fights. And so all you got to do is tell every human that anytime that the dogs are loose, they wear leashes. So that way, when they wear leashes, a human can get attached to the leash, and one, you could prevent it, or you could allow the fight to happen, which is not necessarily what I recommend. But if you decided to allow the fight to happen, then you could use your leash to correct your dog and tell them that you are not okay with them fighting the other dog. So there's a lot of reasons why dogs fight. And I understand them, and it's maybe good to know about this much. But the main thing is what can you do to prevent it? The number one skill that you can use to prevent any kind of dog fight is place training. Teaching your dog how to stay on their place while other dogs and other creatures are doing things in your home, and your dog learns that it has to stay there until you release them, will eliminate fighting very, very quickly. Okay? Because one, your dog's not going to have an option. Now, if you don't know how to do that, you can definitely use your crate and put your dog away, and that will prevent fights, but it won't teach your dog necessarily how to have self-control in those situations that they really, really get charged up. So dogs fight for a lot of reasons, but I definitely think that if a dog is fighting, it's a human's responsibility to then, one, prevent them, or to teach them why they're not allowed to do that. And if you need help doing that, again, we're here to help you. Here to help you to stop those fights. We've had a lot of success with families that have had dogs, fighting dogs. We've even had success with families where a dog has already killed another dog or killed another creature, and then doing that and then doing that. Hey, Scott, glad you have a question. So tonight, my dog came up and took a bite out of the wall. Okay. Well, highly driven dogs, okay, have the tendency to do those kinds of things. And I'm going to tell you, I learned this a long time ago, and the context of when I learned it, I was actually using my leash because I was trying to create obedience in my dog. And what I was learning at the time is that my leash was actually going to bring down the drive of my dog. I know a little bit about you, Scott, that you have a higher drive dog, but using your leash is going to be a great way to prevent your dog, or also to tell your dog that, hey, we don't want you, biting the wall. Okay, hey, I'd love to know a little bit more about that. Yeah, he loves the leash. One thing, the leash is us. The leash is us. And I think that a dog not only should love the leash, but they should also respect what the leash means. That it means that, hey, we're going to go out and do some fun stuff, but there are boundaries to how far you can go and how far you can push the behavior. And so if you're needing any help with that, man, I'd love to be able to help you with your dog. So, hey, just going back over that again, dogs fight for a multitude of reasons, but I want you to know that there is something that can be done to it, that there is something that you can do. There is something that you can do about the dog fighting, and the first step that you can take is getting a leash. All right, so he won't come to me unless I'm in bed or getting a leash. And that's it. One thing that you can look at, Scott, if your dog isn't coming to you and that you routinely put bowls of food down on the ground for your dog to eat, you should maybe reconsider that your dog's food for the next couple of weeks should come out of a treat pouch and be dispensed by you. You shouldn't beg your dog to come to you, but what you should do is when your dog decides that he's hungry and he does come to you, you shouldn't make him work for that food without it being in your hand. You should ask him to do something or use your leash to show him how to do something. And then when he does that, begin to pay your dog. I know a lot of our working dogs, I don't ever like to bribe our dogs. I do like to teach them. But I want them to understand, as a working dog, and really a pet dog too, that you won't actually get to see the money, you won't actually get to see your food until you've done the thing that I want you to do. And I think that's a really important concept. And that's just as simple as, a very common mistake right there, is that you've got the food in your hand and the dog can see it. Maybe it's at the tips of your fingers and you're manipulating the dog. I really believe that you should make a gesture, like if you're going to point to tell the dog down, and if your food is right here in the curl of your hand, that your dog shouldn't be able to see the food that's in your hand that's creating the scent that's coming off of your hand until they're all the way in the down. Once the dog hits the down, then I can show you the food. But I even think that they shouldn't even be able to see the food for the, you shouldn't even have food in your hand after the first week. If you're teaching your dog how to down and you have food in your hand, yeah, you can gesture to them and tell them to do the down. But after a week of doing that training, I think it's time to say goodbye to the food in the hand, show them the gesture, have the dog do the behavior, and then after the behavior, then begin to give them the food. So, just kind of think about that. Yeah, so yeah, for sure you need some help. And hey, if you want to see what this looks like in action, for any of you guys, if you're really needing help, we do in-home consultations all around the Houston area. I'd love to be able to come to your home, discuss some of the things, that we do, the things that really underpin how your dog learns and some of the things that you can do. And then I'd love to demonstrate to you what your dog is actually capable for. One of the things that I tell families every time when I walk in the door, I tell families what we're going to do first. And then I tell them, and then I'm going to show you what your dog is actually capable of. And everybody kind of blows that off. But I love to say it because then when their dog comes out and I actually begin to work the dog and they see the dog's brain begin to turn and begin to assimilate the information that I'm giving it, they're like, wow, I didn't really realize that my dog could do all those things and that quickly. So if this is you, if you're needing help in your home where the problems are happening, I will come to your home and show you what's actually possible with your dog. So I would love to do that for any of you guys. And all you got to do is just send us a message. I'll have Gerda, my client service manager, she'll give you guys a call back. She'll get you on the schedule. and then we'll make things start happening for you. You know, so many families, you know, have come to us for help over the years, and we've helped so many of you guys that have been struggling with your dog. So, hey, Scott, after this, what I'll do is I'll send you a message. We'll just need your phone number. So if you want, while you're watching this, you can just send me a private message and we'll get your phone number. And then we'll come to your house in the next couple of weeks and we'll show you everything that's possible. There is only one caveat, okay? You got to be in my service area. That's the only thing. So hopefully you're in my service area. I think you are. So, but yeah, I'd love to be able to help you with your dog. Okay, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next topic. So, what are the 4 types of stays, and which 2 should you teach first? So most people, when they think about their stay, like, oh, I want my dog to stay. I'm like, well, which stay do you want your dog to do? And then the next thing I get the deer in the headlights look like they're like, oh, I didn't really know that there were different stays. So here are the 4 stays. Okay, hey, we've got your number. I'm going to jot that down real quick so that way I don't lose it in the stream. And we will give you, we're going to give you a call back. We're going to give you a call back tomorrow. So thanks so much, Scott. Okay. So what are the 4 types of stays? Okay, so the 4 types of stays, I'm going to rank them from the easiest stay to the most difficult stay. The easiest stay is the place stay. And the place stay is where you actually have an elevated bed. You could also use one that's flush with your floor. We like using the elevated one, and you teach your dog how to stay on there. The reason it's easy is your dog could be in a down, it could be in a sit, it could even stand on there, and it could even come right up to the edge of the bed before it actually broke the stay. It actually is not allowed to come off the edge of the bed, is the way that I teach it. So the place stay is by far the easiest one to teach your dog, and it's the first one that I recommend teaching. Okay, so what are the other 3 stays? Well, we had the place stay, which was the first. The next stay is the down stay. The next stay after that is the sit stay. And the final type of stay that your dog can do is the stand stay. So the order that I like to teach them in is place stay first, sit stay second, down stay third, and stand stay fourth. Here's why. The place stay has a huge component of a down stay on it. Okay, but it's not as rigid as a true down stay. But the second stay that I like to teach my dog is the sit stay on my left-hand side, while then I make circles around the dog. I really want to teach the dog the sit stay on my left-hand side second, because this is how I'm actually going to meet people when I'm out in public. It's how I'm going to walk into the vet clinic. It's how I'm going to walk into, any one of the places that you can take your dog. I love for my dog to be on my left-hand side. As I maybe walk off and they hold their sit, that's great. But I teach the place stay, I teach the sit stay. And then as I'm working those, I begin to fade the place stay in public places, and I begin to teach my dog to hold the down stay. Okay? And for most of you, if you could actually teach those 3 stays, the place stay, the down stay, and the sit stay, and if you'll treat them as individual exercises and take them into public, you're going to have a ton of success with your dog throughout its life. So what's the last stay? The last stay is the stand stay. And it is the most difficult to teach, because if you think about it, your dog has such little surface area in contact with the ground, and it's so easy to break. Your dog could very easily see a distraction and then move its foot. So it's so difficult for your dog to hold a stand stay. And by and large, for the majority of you guys that are watching this, hey, I probably would never train a stand stay. But if you want to think about, if you're really into like obedience and really showing off your dog's skills and your skills, if you could be in a jogging with your dog, and give the stand command and continue jogging, and your dog nailed the stand and can hold it for up to a minute, that shows some very, very impressive training. And it's one of the things that I work on with my dogs, and it's even tough for me to be able to teach that to the dog. So the stand stay definitely is the most difficult stay to teach, but every dog should learn a place stay and a sit stay to begin with. Okay, so, all right, what's next on my agenda? So the next topic that I want to go over is your dog a family member? And if it is, why are they disrespecting you? You know, a lot of people as Americans, we really think that our dogs truly are family. And this is one of the things that I really love about our culture. If you're a dog lover, your dog is a part of your family. And, we do so many things for our dogs. I just think about the blessings of the 2 dogs that I have in my home. God, I just couldn't live without them. They're just such great animals. They bring so much joy. They bring so much pleasure. And I love how high maintenance they are and all the things that they require me to do. But I just love the interaction. Obviously, it's my passion. I follow, I'm a dog trainer, right? And so I have this huge passion for my own personal dogs. I'm looking over here as I'm on stage right now, and I've got these lights on me and this camera. And I just look over there, and there's Gabby just chilling out. She's patiently waiting for her dinner, which is going to come at the end of this. So I really, really love my dogs, and they really are a part of my family. But one of the things that I commonly see is that your dogs, they get away with murder inside of your homes. They're doing things that you wouldn't let your children do or other creatures do. So I just think that it's so important that one of the first things that you actually teach your dog is how to respect you. And, respect really doesn't necessarily come from how many toys they have or how much food they have or how big your house is or how big your backyard is. But really it's about like how you can teach them those boundaries, like teaching them the boundary of the front door. I think your dog should understand that, hey, when I swing the front door wide open, and if you were to cross the door without my permission, that, hey, you could actually get in trouble for that. But then also teaching the dog that, we're going to have people that are going to come over to our home. And, if your feet leave the ground and you jump on them, then I'm not okay with you doing that. But you should also be able to tell your dog that, hey, if I'm sitting at my dining room table like I am right now, you're not allowed to put your feet up on the table, while we're doing that. But while you're doing that, while you're teaching them where that boundary is and teaching them to not disrespect your personal space, your friends, or the boundaries of your home, that you're also showing them how good it is to be inside your home, how good it is to be on your left-hand side, how good it is to be on your backyard. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but it does align with what I'm trying to teach you. A lot of people look at how big is your backyard. Now, my backyard isn't the biggest yard in the world. It's a pretty good sized backyard in comparison to some of my clients and friends, but it's not enormous. But I'm going to tell you, my dogs really don't care about how big my backyard is. You know what they really care about? They care about what we do in the backyard. They care about, me going back there with their ball, me going back there with the flirt pole, me going back there to work on our obedience or any of the other things that we work on. They care about what happens in the space more than they care about the size of the space. So if you have a huge home or you have a huge backyard and you put your dog back there and your dog is just sitting by the door, that's just a clear sign that, hey, it's time to be able to get involved with your dog. But just going back to that, if your dog is a family member, it's not okay for them to disrespect you. So use your leash. Use your leash to help establish boundaries for your dog. But as you're setting those boundaries to help raise your dog into a happy and reliable adult, show them how good it is. And give them those 2 things. Show them the respect and the love that your dog so craves to be able to understand what it is and how it is that they should live with you. Well, guys, hey, I really appreciate each and every one of y'all that's listening to this. If you're just joining in right now, hey, thanks so much. If you have a question that I can answer for you, hey, please drop that down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what's going on with you and with your dogs. I did post this earlier. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can post it again. I'm doing more things than ever to try to really help you and your family to raise a happy and reliable dog. So what I just did, hey Ferrari, good to hear you, man. Good to see from you. Okay, hope you and your dogs and your family are doing well. Okay,
But, we've got so many things that are going on that we're putting out. Hey, Katrina, hope you're doing well. Glad you're joining us tonight. But I'm doing so many things. I've got some really exciting stuff that's going to be happening in the next month as we push ahead with, my mission to help more families than we've ever helped before. But if you see this page, the one that I just put up that says free dog training, that's really a list of all the different resources of the things that we're doing that I would love to be able to help you with. And they're entirely free. I know you guys have seen my virtual reality videos. I know you see my Instagram stories. We've got YouTube videos. We've got some how-tos that are coming out. We've got this live show that we're doing. And hey, I'm just so honored to be able to do these things for you. But hey, if this stuff is useful for you, if I've brought any value at all in our relationship, share my content. It really means a lot to me when you guys meet. And I know I say that a lot, but I'm not saying it just to say it. It really means a lot to me when you guys share my content because we depend on your word of mouth. We depend on like, hey, you've trained with us and you really like the results. Each time that you share, you kind of help spread the word a little bit, and maybe you're helping somebody else out that has been in the position that you've been in. So hey, hit that share button. It means so much to me. But thanks to each one of you guys that's watching tonight. And if we've worked with you, hey, I appreciate your families. We love you guys so very, very much. So the next topic that I've got here is, when does food-based training not work? There's a couple of situations where food-based training really is going to fall flat on its face, okay? But they're really circumstantial. I really love food-based training because it's very, very powerful. It can be used to do a lot of different things. Hey Kim, I just saw your question. I'm going to talk about this for a moment, but I definitely want to go over the question that you have. So when does food-based training truly fail? Okay, well, one, when your dog is really nervous. Let's just say that your dog gets nervous each time that the doorbell rings, or each time that people come over, or when it sees another dog. I'm just going to tell you that if that's your dog and you've been instructed to grab a piece of food and put it to their nose, I'm here to tell you that when your dog gets stimulated that way, even if it's nervous or overly excited, that the dog's nose, it actually shuts down the vast majority of the time. And so trying to put food to the nose while your dog is misbehaving to try to get attention, one, doesn't work. But let's just say that it does. You've got that one dog that really gets food motivated. If your dog is acting badly and you bring food to the dog's nose and you give that dog food in 1001, 1002, 1003, within 3 seconds of it doing the thing that you didn't want, you just rewarded your dog for bad behavior. And here is one of the big pitfalls of actually rewards-based training, because in rewards-based training, which we use, in rewards-based training, if your dog just did something bad and it's been no less than 3 seconds and you actually give the dog a piece of food, praise them by saying good boy, or pet them, and they hadn't been away from the bad thing for more than 3 to 5 seconds, you just made the frequency of that bad behavior increase. So rewards-based training can actually work against you if you just have bad timing. So what I do to kind of help prevent myself from making this really egregious mistake is I have what I call the 3-second rule. If my dog just made a mistake that I know is clearly a mistake, I will count to 3. And then I will look down at the dog and see, is what the dog currently doing in line with what I had in mind? And if it's not, it's okay. I then can begin to manipulate the dog with my leash, with my food, with the way that I move my body to get them to become right. And then if they actually become right because I made them become right or they figured it out, I can then reward. But if the dog had just made a mistake and I bring the food to the nose, they fix the problem immediately, and it hasn't been 3 seconds and I give them a piece of food, I unfortunately just contradicted myself. So if you're using rewards-based training, which is really great, be very mindful of your timing and don't put any reward anywhere near any of the mistakes. Don't even think about bringing a piece of food to your dog's nose if it just made a mistake, because they could believe that they're getting rewarded, and that belief is enough to reinforce the behavior that you don't want. All right, so I've got a couple of other things to cover. Hope everybody's enjoying this. I appreciate all you guys. So the next thing is why, I kind of scribbled this and I can't read my own handwriting a little bit, so let's see if I can read this. Okay, so why being judged by others shouldn't affect your training with your dog. You know, this is a really common problem that I see. You know, you could be out in public and your dog just did something that you want to clearly communicate to them that they're not allowed to do. And when you go to discipline your dog / your child, they decide to throw a tantrum. And when they throw that tantrum, obviously, if I saw a kid throwing a tantrum, if you saw a kid throwing a tantrum, if you saw a dog throwing a tantrum, it's going to get your attention. And it's really interesting to me that, like, if a kid is throwing a tantrum, people tend to avoid. And then they begin to think, like, man, that kid's out of control. Somebody needs to get a hold of him. However, when people see dogs throwing a tantrum and the person has a leash in their hand or a prong collar or a remote collar in their hand, they automatically think that the dog is being abused. So what I'm going to tell you is, if this is your dog, if you understand that you're punishing a behavior and your dog decides to throw a tantrum and people begin to judge you because of that, I would tell you, get tough in your head. Don't care about the opinions of those people because they don't know what you're going through. And discipline your dog until they calm down. And then when they do that, then go back to rewarding them. But I really have made it a point this year to stop caring so much about what other people think whenever I'm trying to raise my dog to be the best they can, or when I'm trying to help you with your dog and we need to discipline your dog and we actually have to discipline your dog in public and your dog begins to throw a tantrum and your dog has to learn that tantrums are not a way to get out of trouble. You know, it's important to not care about what other people think. And it's not always easy, but I'm here to encourage you that it is the right thing to do. So if other people are looking at you and judging you for the way you raise your dog, blow those people off, because they truly don't care about you. They really just care about the appearances of things. But really love your dog through the discipline, and then when they're getting it right, definitely pour out that affection. All right, Kim, so I want to go over your question real quickly. So, hi, I have a 5-year-old Dapple Dachshund, and he is still so hyper, and I need to get him to calm down. Any advice? Oh boy, you've hit the jackpot. You've hit the jackpot, Kim. You know, yeah, I've got a ton of advice for you here. So one, let me give you 2 pieces of advice. I'm going to give you a short answer, and then I'm going to give you a little bit longer answer. So the short answer is just a moment ago. If you'll scroll through, you're going to see that I posted a thing that says Longoriahausdogtraining.com, free dog training. Whenever I'm done with my response that I'm going to give you next, I then want you to go to those. I've got a ton of free resources. And one other thing, if you want a specific video that you should start with, send me a private message and I'll be sure to direct you where you should start at teaching your dog how to become calm. You know, the number one way that I begin to make dogs calm is by 1, having a leash on them, and then 2, beginning to train them on their place. Place training is not all that difficult, so let me demystify that real quickly for you. So the number one tool, you're going to need 2 tools to do this. Let me give you 3 tools. The 3 tools that you're going to need is, 1, you're going to want a leash. I use what's called a British slip leash. We do have these on our online store. You can order one and I can send one to you. They also sell those at local pet stores. I'm kind of picky about slip leashes because they all work a little bit differently. I like the brand that we're using. They specifically manufacture these for us, but they do a really good job. So 1, you want to have a leash for your dog, and your dog's going to need to wear that quite a bit. The second thing that you're going to want to do is you do want an elevated dog bed. If you go to my Instagram page or watch any videos of where I'm actually training a dog, you're going to see these elevated beds. Those elevated beds are important because it's kind of like a high chair for your dog. Now, I do realize your dog is a little bit older, but you're going to want to kind of start them on this high chair, so to speak, because it's an easiest way for them to begin to learn that. And then the last thing you're going to need is you're going to need your dog's daily meals. I would put that into a treat pouch and I would have it on my body. So the very first practical thing that I want you to do between now and next Wednesday, I want 100% of your dog's meals to come while your dog is physically located on that elevated bed. Get your dog on the elevated bed. You can either use your leash to put him on there, or you can bring food to his nose and get them onto the bed. And then I want you to begin to feed your dog on the bed. I do want the leash on the dog. And after like tomorrow, let's say that you get the elevated bed tomorrow. After tomorrow, so on Friday, when you're feeding him for being on the bed with his food, I want you to throw some food off the edge of the bed about 5 to 6 feet off the edge of your bed. The moment you do that, your dog is immediately going to come off the bed. And then, with leash in hand, I want you to put your dog back onto the bed. Don't say a word. Let your dog come off again. And if your dog comes off again in the next 10 seconds, put your dog back on. I want you to continue to put your dog back on over and over and over until your dog has stayed for up to 10 seconds and not gone after the food that is sitting 5 to 6 feet away off the edge of the bed. If your dog stays on the bed for those 5 or 10 seconds, grab some of their food and then very liberally begin to reward your dog with the food. Avoid this one mistake. If your dog is on the bed, it didn't come off for the food and you're feeding the dog, don't begin to get excited with your voice and begin to pet the dog very rapidly, because then you could undo some of the training that you're trying to do. So that's what I would do first to begin to teach your dog how to become calm. And then as you move from there, I would use that elevated bed and I would move it from your dining room, from your living room, from your front door, from your patio, anywhere in your home. And I would teach your dog that you want him to stay there on his bed with his leash, earning his food throughout the day. Now, if you work a job like most of us do, I want you to do this whenever you're home. And you can also assign it to other family members, and you show them that, hey, the job is to keep the dog on his bed, and every time that he decides to come off, we're going to put him back there with a leash, but if he chooses to stay, then we're going to reward you. Well, hey, I hope that's helpful. Hendermine, I see you have a question for me. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, okay? I have a 1-year-old female German Shepherd and just got an 8-week-old male lab boxer puppy. Let me scroll down to your question. The German Shepherd is patient, but does get irritable every now and then. Should I let her correct him? I've been intervening so far. Thank you. Wow, what a really great question. So there's a lot of different parenting techniques and raising techniques, for the dogs, okay? So I'm going to tell you a couple of things about the way that we raise our dogs, okay? And look, I'm kind of hardcore. If you guys aren't getting that, I'm hardcore when it comes to the way that we raise my dogs. I like to keep things real simple for myself because I think in the simplicity, that's really where the answer is. So look, there are dogs that can effectively correct other dogs, and I recognize that. I personally do not let any one of my dogs ever correct another dog. The way that I treat it from a mental standpoint is that any dog that decides to correct my dog is going to have to deal with me. Okay? So one, I don't necessarily intervene. I let the dogs know that I don't like that. People ask me all the time, well, like, hey, how do you punish the dogs? How do you punish the dogs when they do that? Well, it goes back to knowing your dog. If two dogs are like, if one dog gets a little too rough in play and then the adult dog has to, correct the younger dog for any reason, I'm not okay with that. I take that away from the dog, and the way that I correct them is with the thing that they like the least. But then the other thing that I do with my dogs to really show them this is I do so much training. Like, my training isn't in sessions. It's really my lifestyle. We do place stays, we do healing, we do sit stays, We do protection work with the dogs. We're doing all these things with the dogs. So I just want the dogs to understand that, hey, you got to respect one another. And the easiest way for them to learn to respect one another is to first respect me. So let me bring some more value to this. So if you have a 1-year-old female German Shepherd and you also have an 8-week-old puppy, if you think about what the puppy has been through up to this point is between week 2 and week 8, it probably all it ever did is play with the other dogs. So that's all it knows. It still needs somebody to play with. But your female German Shepherd is giving off some signs that, hey, I don't want to play with you. And that's quite all right. She's allowed that. She's allowed to say, I don't want to play with you. So what I would do then is I would tell my German Shepherd to go away. I'd probably put them in a place, in a stay, and then I would want to play with the puppy. This is something that I do, and I don't know how popular it is, but I do it anyway. Once my dogs get to 4 months of age, I don't let them really play with the adult dogs. I'm personally very jealous for the play with my dog because I'm going to use that play to build an amazing relationship. I think that each time that folks allow their dogs to play with other dogs, I don't think that there's anything wrong with it in and of itself. But every time that the dog is doing that, I'm thinking that's a time that I could be playing with the dog and building a better relationship. One thing we talk about all the time is that dogs are very, very transactional. So a dog looks at who am I actually playing with and should I pay attention to them? And so if your dog is always playing with all these other dogs, and then you're going out and walking with your dog and wondering why all the other dogs have the attention and you have none, that's one of the reasons why. So here for sure, I would definitely intervene. I would definitely have my German Shepherd in their place, and then I would begin to play with the puppy in the presence of the other dog and tell my dog, you're going to have to stay calm while I play with my puppy. But then I would do the reverse. I would tell the puppy that you're going to have to stay, whether it's in your playpen or your crate, or that we're teaching you that you're going to be on your place while I'm playing with my German Shepherd. And then I'm going to teach them that both of you guys are going to stay where I tell you to until I'm done doing what I'm doing, and then we're going to choose if we're all going to play together or if you're going to play with me. But I'm not going to allow them to continue to play with each other and have them sort it out, because at some point your younger puppy is going to see the German Shepherd as the authority figure instead of seeing you as that. And I just think it's an important thing for the dog to see the humans as the authority figure. Well, hey, I hope that's helpful. If you need some help with this, okay, because this is a little complicated, I'd love to be able to demonstrate to you what this looks like. So if you're in our service area, hey, or even if you're not, send me a message. We'll determine if you're in our service area, and I'll show you in person how I can help you to be able to sort that out and begin to put you on a pathway to have the 2 best dogs that your family has ever had. So, hey, would love to help you with that. Hey, I appreciate the question. Thank you so very much. I just remembered, when I do these live shows, I just get talking and talking and talking, and the next thing that I know, I'm kind of thirsty. So here, let's get a sip. And hey, if anybody has any questions, be sure to drop those down in the comments below. Go smash that share button. Share this with a friend. I'd love to be able to help your friends as well. Oh yeah, I was talking a lot. Excuse me, guys. All right, so I've got one more. Let's see how we're doing on time. Okay, so we're getting close to the end. So I've got one more thing. That this is a question that we got, and I'm actually gonna jump on my iPad for just a second because I got something I want to share with you guys. Let me find this real quick. So this last question, we actually received it in one of the new ways that you can actually go about contacting us. And I'm going to throw a link up here and show you something that maybe you didn't know that we were doing. You can definitely learn about the thing that I'm alluding to right now as I'm typing in here. But let me find it. Oh, that's what I'm looking for. That right there. Let me copy this. So one of the things that you guys may not know that we're doing is that I actually, if you have an Echo device, if you have one of those things that has Alexa on there, you can actually ask me a dog training question. Now, it's actually not all that hard.
It's actually not all that hard to be able to ask those dog training questions. All you've got to do is if you'll go to the skill store, if you have an Echo device, if you'll go to the skill store, which I just put a link up for that, go there. We have a skill, which is an app for your Alexa device that's called Al the Dog Trainer. So if you say, open Al the Dog Trainer to your device, then you're going to hear me begin to speak. And when you do that, you could actually ask me a dog training question, and then we're going to create content around those questions. Now, let me give you something really cool that we're planning for either late this year or the beginning of next year. If you actually ask Al the Dog Trainer a question on your Alexa-enabled device, and I've ever created any content about your question, you're immediately going to get that. And if you've been one of our clients, if you've signed up for one of our training courses, you're going to get those questions answered for free forever. Okay, how great is that? So if you have an Alexa, I'd love for you to enable our skill. And yeah, I just turned her on. So if you hear her start talking right now, but anyway, if you have a device and you start asking it questions, I'll start creating content around those questions. And then in the very near future, you're going to be able to ask those questions and get an immediate response without having to wait. We've really worked very hard at that, but I just really wanted to bring a lot of value to the dog training community. So if you're one of our clients, that's something that we do that's absolutely free. So we got this question through somebody that wanted to understand a little bit about whistle training. So here's the question. Why can a whistle, like a dog training whistle, be more useful than a voice command for coming when called? So for those of you guys that don't know, sound travels at approximately 667 miles per hour. It does change with atmospheric conditions and all that scientific stuff. But sound travels very, very fast. But obviously, sound is susceptible to volume, okay? Sound has to have a lot of volume to be able to move a great distance. So one of the things that actually makes using a whistle to call your dog back better is because of the sheer volume of the sound that's coming out of the whistle. But this is a secondary reason why it's so useful. The other super useful reason why a whistle may actually be better, an actual dog whistle may actually be better than a voice command is because the whistle can be very, very consistent in its meaning. For example, you could whistle, and if your dog turned around and came back and you rewarded it, you would use that whistle the same way, and it would sound the same way each and every time to your dog. But we as humans, one of the things that we do is we call our dogs by their name. But we also call our dogs, we use their name when we're trying to tell them no. We also call their names when we're trying to get their attention. We also call their name when we're praising them. So there's all this ambiguity that goes into the dog's name. And one of the reasons that a dog may actually fail to recall is because their name actually has too many different meanings, and the predominant meaning may actually be something that drives your dog away from you. One thing that I tell people all the time, when their dog is misbehaving, they may actually be using their dog's name to tell the dog no. And if you're doing that, I would encourage you to stop. Just say no to your dog if they're doing something wrong. However, begin to really focus on making your dog's name something very, very valuable. But a whistle, if you're really off in a field where your dog is, several hundred yards away from you, or even about 100 yards away from you, a whistle command can actually do a really great job of getting your dog to learn to come back with you. It is super, super consistent, and it can really be a very clear signal to your dog on how to succeed. Well, hey guys, we're just about out of time. I'm going to take another sip of water. Hey, if you're watching this and I've brought any value, it means so much to me if you would share this and also hit that like button. Okay, here I'll hit my own like button there. Hit a like button just like that. Okay, but also go down and share my content. I know this is about over, but we're going to share this recording. It's going to stay up forever, as long as Facebook lasts. But we're going to share this.
And maybe one of your friends could use this, or maybe one of your friends' friends or a family member could use the information that we've shared tonight. Well, guys, I'm done. Hey, thank you so much for watching our live show tonight. I appreciate each and every one of y'all, and we'll see you guys next week. Okay, take care, guys. Bye.